My applause button was stuck. So this is like me trying to take it from the top again. I don't know what happened. So basically, the way my audio interface is set up, there's an A, B, C, and D preset. The applause that you hear sometimes, that's the C preset. And right when I started to hit record and get into the intro, it kind of got stuck. So I've been sitting here listening to this applause for like 2 minutes. Good morning, welcome back to the ALG show. Today we're going to be talking with Joseph Lee, a cinematographer. Today we get into a range of different topics as we usually do on this show. We get into his concert coverage with Natalie Jane for the US and Europe legs of the tour, some of his recent commercial and music video work, as well as his experiences being co-owner of a rental house based out of Orange County. Yeah, without any further ado, let's get into today's episode.
It's been interesting. The, this year's been interesting. I tried something new. I went on tour with an artist this year. We did a whole worldwide tour from US to Europe, which is totally out of my boat. I'm usually doing the whole music videos and commercial situation, but I was like, why not try something new and different this year by going on tour and shooting content and whatever content and creative things that they needed during the tour. Um, I feel like it's been a blast for sure. It's quite a journey. It's really fun, but I realized throughout the whole tour that it wasn't a thing that I'm really passionate about and what I really want to be doing full time.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me miss being on set because I could see all my friends being on set while I'm on this tour. I'm like, this is awesome to be on tour. I'm getting to travel the world, but at the same time, I'm like, wait, like this is not what I'm gonna be doing full time. Like I get to like I'm still grateful and blessed to even have this tour
Yeah.
and like to be able to be on this tour and just doing all these things that we're doing. But like in the long run, I'm like, wait, why am I trying to get another tour? Like I got asked to do two other tours after this one, said no to all of them because I'm like, this is not the reason why I quit my job. Like the reason why I did it is to like pursue my full-time freelance DPing career. And so far it's been slow because of that reason, because tour has been my 100%, like all my effort and time has gone into that. So starting this year has been just all tour. But now, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or even months, I'm able to just pick up some more jobs and get jobs here and there and maybe doing a couple more passion projects while I'm at it. So yeah, that's just kind of been my year so far. Just been tour and trying to find some more jobs to do. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. So you mentioned kind of like transitioning into so this tour was like the first sort of freelance
Yeah.
project you sort of took. You were doing were you doing exclusively video? Did they ask you for stills? Like what was your sort of like task list that you were given?
Yeah. So I was hybrid shooting, so I was doing both video and photo.
Okay.
But mainly focusing on video because um the artist that I went on tour with is like basically got her fame through TikTok and social media. So like they're really heavy on the content. So a lot of vertical videos.
Yeah.
I hate vertical videos.
My favorite.
Sorry for all those. I know, right? Um,
I love
hopefully the sarcasm could come out of the voices.
it.
But no, yeah, no, it's either way, vertical, horizontal. Like I try to push for horizontal as much as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been interesting because it's so different from like a typical regular artist that like naturally gets their audience and their fans, and not like from social media. And I think that was the biggest learning curve because it's more of like, oh, what does the audience like to watch? Or like what kind of angle does the audience like to see and gets more traction on their social media pages more
Mm.
than let's just shoot it and then we'll just upload it. You know, it's not that kind of stuff anymore for these kind of artists. It's more of, okay, let's try the pitch shots. Does the pitch shots do well on Instagram or TikTok? Or do the front of house with the 7200 look better and get more traction with those because it looks more raw, I guess you would say, because you see the audience and you see the hands and stuff like that more than the pitch shots where it's just an artist. So I think that was the biggest learning curve. Um, like that was my first worldwide tour, and just being able to work with like an artist like that, where it's where they're solely like really focusing on like the content and like really getting to the nitty gritty of like what's working for their page and what's not. Um, because you would have the freedom of writing them just like, capture whatever you want, whatever song you want. They might have like one or two specific songs that they want you to capture vertically,
Yeah.
and then like it's vlog recap stuff and photos. But this tour was like, okay, let's like see what works and keep doing what gets more views or what gets more traction on their page.
Yeah.
So
So was there stuff that like okay, absolutely like we want to get this on the tour, and then there was stuff that like the audience liked to see, or was it just like let's focus on what people like, let's keep doing it, and as a result, like the stuff that you're shooting is sort of changing every day.
yeah, Yeah, so it really just there's like three or four songs that the artist highlights every before every show of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's for sure focus on these three, four songs for this show. We'll love vertical videos for these. So I wasn't shooting vertical the whole show. Thank God for that. So the three or four shows, well, not shows, sorry, songs was
34?
just no,
Oh,
3 to 4,
oh,
three to
three to
four
four.
songs
Yeah.
was verticals, and the rest I could get like B-roll, like slow-mo shots, photos,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was. And so it wasn't like throughout the whole show, thankfully. But yeah, it's just been they just really care about like because she got her fame and her like fandom through social media,
Yeah.
so they really care more about what got more traction, like what angle got more traction. We messed around with audio, like sound design a little bit, as in like should we bring the crowd mics up a little bit more? Should we bring it down a little bit more and have more front of house mix? So it was it was for sure a learning curve because they just asked me like, hey, you want to just come on tour and be our content person? I'm like, yeah, and really didn't ask any questions of like what it entailed and what I was gonna specifically do because I was already working with artists before we went on tour, so we knew of each other. And so they were just like, "Hey, like, you want to come on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So it was a lot. It was a lot of a learning curve to like change, I guess, my mindset to be like, "All right, what angle or what kind of like movement or position that I need to be in would get more traction or get more views, kind of thing."
I don't really have that sort of experience in terms of like live
Yeah.
coverage. For context, like I think in terms of live stuff, I've done like live performances, but we've been able to like run
hmm
through it a few
hmm
times if there's like
Right.
a technical issue or and there's also like no audience. So like we were
Right.
basically able to focus in on like, hey, we want to get this set of coverage, this set of coverage,
Yeah.
but it was less like we were focusing on trends and more of like we wanted to
Right.
present this artist. Think like what is it like a live version of a song or something. I know
hmm
Vivo does that sort of
hmm
thing where like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
live performance and it's like
The live performance.
it's
Yeah.
there's no audience and like you can just kind of go through it a
hmm
few times and like
hmm
which is cool because then we can kind of go in
Yeah.
and kind of experiment and
Right.
like what you're saying, like kind of get the coverage that you kind of think is a little bit more interesting versus something that is a little bit more trendy.
Right. A little bit more produced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I prefer for sure like the live performance what Vivo usually does. Like I would love to do a shoot with one of those um videos just because like I just love I don't know, I feel like I love the live performance aspect of it, and
Hmm.
that's why I kinda, like, wanted to go on tour too, because I just love the whole even without the fans or with the fans or without, I think just having some kind of performance, like, just a live performance video is just so much fun to shoot
Yeah,
because you get to really know the artist at the same time of, like, okay, what's their process like of doing something live or doing the performance and stuff like that, so I think I really just love shooting like I mean I would love to do more live performances this year like even if it's with the artists that I worked with on this tour or any of my other artists I do stuff with so yeah man
yeah,
it's
definitely.
been
It seems
interesting
like I was gonna ask you about it now that you bring up like doing live performances. It seems
yeah
like you've done. I would call them mini live performances.
yeah
They're kind of I would say it's like a mix between a live performance and like branded content, where it's like
yeah
a
yeah
vertical version. It's like a really short snippet of a song. Like I'm forgetting
hmm
the artist. Let me pull it up right now. Jamie Miller, you did like a little promo
mm,
piece like for.
Yeah.
like I believe he was going on tour or something.
Yeah.
Um, is that kind of in the similar vein of like, hey, this is like a live performance. I really like this, or like I don't know. I see that and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
pretty interesting. How do you, what's like your thought
No,
process
for
going into
sure.
one of those?
I think for those kind of videos that I've been working with, like Jamie Miller or Natalie Jane or Alexander Stewart, all those artists that I've been like shooting those kind of videos for,
Mm-hmm.
um, they consider it as content. So it's only like it's just them lip syncing to one of their released songs or current or upcoming music. So it's more of like I guess we go out somewhere and shoot them lip syncing to their songs, and I personally make it like almost like a music video cinematically
Mm-hmm.
like I shoot my reels and content for him. So I think that video that you're talking about from Jamie Miller is one of those cinematic content pieces that I did for him to promote his new song that was coming out at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those things are really fun to do, like content. But again, I really realized the past like 6 months has been really content heavy. I've been doing a lot more content for these artists more than like actual projects like music videos and stuff for them. So I'm like trying to make that shift now of like, hey, I don't do content anymore. I'm a cinematographer, I do music videos and commercials. So hire me
Definitely.
for those things now
Yeah.
instead of content. Like I love doing them because I get to meet so many people through it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest thing for me is that I love meeting new people and just getting to know how they got into it in the first place and just building that relationship with these people. Um, and I think content, like shooting content with these artists, does that for you because like most of the time it's just you and that person shooting content. So it's like, okay, we got, for example, Jamie Miller. I met him for the first time shooting content, and we built that bond over time. Like, okay, now we're actually friends. We hang out every so often, or we he tries to pitch me to his team to do a music video, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like you build that bond and connection over time with these artists. And that's kind of like what I did with Natalie. Like Natalie and we've um, shot content a lot the past 6 months. And then that kind of got me the job to go on tour with her
Mm-hmm.
because she trusted me and knew what I can do and what I'm capable of through those experiences that we did together and built that relationship over time. So I think, I don't know if that answered your question. Did that answer your
Yeah,
question kind
yeah,
of?
it did. It was more just like
Yeah.
your thought process of like what was the purpose behind it, which you mentioned was
Right.
like content
Yeah.
sort of. And
Yeah.
I will say I know you're kind of distilling it to like, oh, it's a social media thing. I think they look pretty
Yeah.
good, to be
Thanks,
completely
man.
honest with you. Like they're super simple, like 30-second pieces, but I think they're like super
Yeah.
unique and it brings a certain level of like quality to the artist that like
Mm.
they didn't have before. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
discredit what you're
appreciate
doing.
that.
I think it all looks
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
I
Talking
appreciate that,
about
man.
talking about more in line with like music videos and
Yeah.
commercials and that sort of thing. We'll get to the
Yeah.
Natalie Jane video in a second, but I
Yeah.
recently, this was maybe about a week ago, you posted a Bumble commercial that you did, which I'm
Yes.
rewatching it again. It looks so
Yeah.
good. Hats off to you for doing
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Um, how did that come about? What was your sort of thought process behind it? And
Yeah.
yeah, walk me through that.
Yeah, man. No, yeah, that project was a lot of fun. It was a passion project of both me and this director that I met at Production Connect. Um, Me and my friend Sam, we were like, I think we were grabbing coffee one day, and we were like, dude, like we just both had the same dreams and the same like passion of like wanting to just create something, and we're just hungry to just make something. So we were like, what can we do? Like, what kind of passion project can we do? Should we do a short film? Should we do a commercial? And then we just both clicked on like, let's do a commercial. Like we both want to get into the commercial world, so why not shoot something that we could just have fun with and just be creative on? So we came up with Bumble, and I think he already was writing something before we met up for coffee for a Bumble spec. So I was like, dude, like when you finish it, like hit me up. Like I want to see what it is and what you write out of it. And so he sent over that script over of the whole Bumble spec, and I was like, this is actually really good. And I asked if I could be a part of it. He said, yeah. And so it kind of just worked out perfectly because like I was wanting to do a passion project for a while. something that I wanted to do for fun and just like actually like, be on set with friends and actually just have a good time making it too. And it just all worked out perfectly for it to be a passion project. And with the budget that we had for this, like it was a $1,000 budget that we had, and we made everything happen. So the cast was all great. The cast was amazing. Our crew was amazing. They did a lot for us. Um, they all did it as their passion project too. They were all passionate about it at the same time. So props to them for coming out and doing that. Um, but yeah, no, it was a blast for sure. It was a really fun project to do for both of us, and I think it was. But then we did go through a lot of revisions um, for the edit, and I think it was worth it because we want to make sure that it looks good for everybody to like be posting about it or like being like, oh, they made a whole Bowman was a commercial and we thought it was a real commercial. We wanted to make it look real. We wanted to look like it was like a like 5,000 or like big budget production kind of thing, but no, it's only $1,000 went into it and made it look pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. It was one of my best projects that I've done so far, and we shot that the weekend before I left for tour.
Oh, okay. So this
So
was like maybe what, like
it's back
March
in
ish,
February.
February. Oh wow, you've been on tour for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I've been gone for a while, man, and I'm so excited to be back and be working, bro. Like, tour has stopped a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, happy to
So,
have you back. But also,
thanks, man.
I didn't know it was a grand, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
looking at this thinking it was at least. I'm like kind of
yeah.
watching it
Like, what
again.
do you think?
I think it looks great, right? I know I keep
I appreciate
saying
it.
that, but
Yeah,
like it really does. Um,
yeah. No, I
if
appreciate
I
that,
had to
man.
guess based on like, Austin was on it as well. I did
Yeah.
meet Sam also at
Heck
another
yeah.
production connect. I believe you
Yeah,
were on
yeah, yeah,
tour. Um,
yeah,
but just due to the extent of like how many people were involved, I kind of figured like, okay,
yeah.
maybe like 10, 15
Mm,
was like maybe
yeah.
the budget.
Right.
And it looks really
Shout
good, and
out.
like
Shout out to
it's
literally our
believable.
producer
Yeah.
and our casting director. Like our crew was amazing to just pull everything together. Our producers, Austin did amazing. Sam is amazing. All of our crew and cast. It's just crazy how like we literally did this with a 1K budget, and they were all willing to do it and drive out to LA and do all these things. So yeah, it's awesome to just see how many people are still so passionate about it. It's
Yeah,
like there's a lot of
definitely.
people that are like not wanting to do it because it's not paid. I don't want to do it. But these people were everybody on this crew and cast just was so happy to be there. And I don't want to speak for them,
Yeah.
but with my experience from just being there and being surrounded by these people, it was a good time on set for sure. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And I think you need that. You need like the passion like first and foremost, cuz I feel like maybe you experienced this, but I feel like it's kind of difficult to
yeah,
work with people who are just kind of there for the check. And like I've worked with
right,
a few camera assistants that have been like
yeah,
that, and to a
yeah,
certain extent like I understand, because it's like we all got to eat, we all got to make rent. It's
hmm
all always due on the
yeah,
first of every month. You know what I mean?
right,
So to an extent I understand that, but it's also really
yeah,
difficult when it just feels like you're there for the paycheck and not there
right,
because you genuinely give a shit about me or about the director, the
yeah,
production, whatever it
right,
is. It
right,
it makes it really difficult. So I'm glad to see that like there was that enthusiasm for
yeah,
a passion project.
yeah,
That's really um, once you find it, you kind of hold on to that. Those are kind
right,
of your
right,
people, and then you wanna hold on
yeah,
to them. Speaking of the budget, I'm
yeah,
assuming um, I know you own a camera, you own some
yeah,
kit. Um,
yeah.
has that? Do you
Excuse me.
feel? How do I explain it? Do you feel like you have gear acquisition syndrome?
Hmm. Put in another word. Like you.
Like, do you feel
Let's
like you're
see.
always looking to kind of acquire a new piece of kit? Do you feel like it's influenced
Oh,
your judgment on certain productions? Like, what's your kind of relationship been with owning gear as a
Yeah.
DP?
No, I feel like I do because I kind of feel like it's like a lot for a lot of cinematographers. You gotta have
Mm-hmm.
the next best thing, or like
Yeah.
you gotta have the most recent thing that comes out. But I don't know. I've been really thinking about it. I'm like, I don't really need a cinema camera because it just depends on the project. It's
Yeah.
always different for every project that you shoot. You're getting different lenses. You're getting different camera body for every project that you're on. So, but then for me, when I started out now, I started to do a lot more of my own like cinematography, like my own DP projects,
Mm-hmm.
and started to become a DP. I was like, I would love to just have a kit, just to have one camera where I could also rent it out to people and also have it for myself for like for example the passion project the Bumble spec at like that came in clutch for that project because we really spent more money on lighting and crafting and stuff like that where it was more mandatory and needed
Mm-hmm.
and just borrow the lens package from a friend of ours so it just like I feel like yeah I feel like I don't need the next big thing like I want to get a Sony Venice and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
But do I really need it? No, not really. Because, like, but if it gets to the point where I'm DPing a lot of projects and we're renting the Venice a lot for the projects that I shoot a lot on, then yeah, maybe it might be smart to get one and then rent it out to the production that I'm doing, and kind of pay it back
Mm-hmm.
with that money that I get from it. But I don't see a point if you're always switching different camera bodies for every project that you're on to have a specific like camera to that. So I have the Red Scarlet right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to sell the crap out of that thing. I
Yeah.
I used to love red, but not anymore.
That's
And
funny.
now I'm transitioned to Sony Venice.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that. Yeah,
So
we
yeah,
we've
man.
kind of gone back and forth about like cameras we've thought about buying.
Yeah, yeah,
We've
yeah.
had
Like
that
different camera bodies.
conversation.
Yeah,
I've also felt less of gear acquisition syndrome. I feel like,
yeah,
especially, I'm sure maybe you feel this way doing like music videos. There's like pressure to
yeah.
have a camera package or like certain
Right.
certain things. And
Yeah,
I think over time, like I sort of adopted a similar sentiment of like, you know what, let me just rent the thing that makes sense. Let me not
right,
like try to,
right,
because I feel like for a long time it is sort of with previous camera packages I've had, it's really um, influenced my judgment. I feel like it created like a
right.
bias, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it was like trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. Like for a lot of things,
Mm.
my camera package didn't make sense, but also in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, I want to make money on this. This needs to sell. This needs to
Yeah,
rent.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let me get it moving, so that way I can I
Right.
can I can make a little bit more per diem or whatever the intention is behind owning gear. But
Yeah,
I think I'm kind of with you. I think for the moment, I'm just gonna keep renting
yeah,
and just sort of find what I like. And then if it gets to a point where like
yeah.
I am working consistently and I can, it makes
Right.
financial sense for me to hire or
Yeah,
for me to own a certain piece of gear, then
yeah.
I'm gonna do that. And for me,
Right.
it's always been things that are like sort of evergreen. Like you're always gonna need
Yeah,
sticks. You're always gonna
yeah,
need like
yeah.
filters,
Like the
definitely.
camera accessories. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, for sure.
yeah. All that stuff is sort of
Yeah,
where I've recently put money into rather than
yeah.
a camera
A
package. I
camera
mean,
body.
we've talked about it
Yeah.
before where like it's just sort of I sold my
Right.
red right before I sort of lost a ton of
Yeah.
money on it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and now,
Yeah, I'm losing more money with mine.
yeah,
So
I would almost argue that
it's
like I
crazy.
don't think because you've created stuff like the Bumble thing and
Hmm.
you've done
Hmm.
a few music videos with Natalie Jane. I think in those
Yeah.
situations, like okay, this is definitely worth whatever depreciation that I
Right.
soaked
Right.
up from it.
Right.
So let's get into that. Actually, the Natalie
Yeah, man.
Jane. I believe it's the Do or Die video. That was like one of the
Mm.
first pieces that I saw from when we first met.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so this is, I'm assuming it's from a prior working relationship you already have with Natalie Jane, or like,
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
this the first thing you guys are doing together? How did that
Yeah.
project come about?
No, for sure. So we've did another music video before that one,
Mm-hmm.
and she came out with that single "Do or Die." Came with she shot another music video for that with another director, and then randomly just reached out to me, be like, "Hey, like we want to do a live performance of this song. Would you be interested in shooting it?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Like I would love to just shoot something." And again, we were talking about live performances.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that video really made me want to do more live performance videos. Um, because I just love the live aspect of it and just being able to just shoot like I don't know, just talent, just
Mm-hmm.
like seeing the actual raw moments of them trying to figure things out and like having Natalie figure out, oh, I didn't sound like good at that part because of this and that, and like we did a lot of takes, but I see the reason why we did it, and I think that's the fun of it. It's just the process and also the troubleshooting. I think that's what makes filmmaking so much fun for me. It's just the troubleshooting parts, which is not like supposed to be fun, but then I think that's how you learn the most when you're hands-on and also just trying to figure problems out and you're just learning through it all. So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think I think Do or Die was one of those projects where we did have some camera issues. We did have, I forget what happened, but something happened and it wasn't like a huge thing, but then it did cause me to be really stressed about it. But at the very end of it, we all had a good time. We had a blast. Um, but yeah, no, Nallie's great. No, she's really talented, and I'm like really blessed for her to even just like reach out to see if I wanted to do that video. And it's something different for her too. She didn't do like a live performance video like that before, so it's cool to just see how um, she kind of came up with the idea and like the inspiration for it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I also kind of directed it and also DP'd it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think actually that was the reason why I was stressed because I was directing it and also DPing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
both looking at the monitor, making sure both of our compositions are right. We shot with two cameras,
Mm-hmm.
and also trying to make sure that Natalie's performance is great and we don't end up getting like a bad shot or I don't know. So I think that was the thing that really stressed me out. But again, it's a learning curve. Like I learned so much from that project of how I can multitask and what are some like learned a lot from that project for sure. But yeah, no, it's been a blast with that video. I think that's one of her. I don't know. I think it's her second. No, no, never mind. The other music video I shot for her has that's her second most viewed video. But
Yeah. I'm like looking through her page right now. You did Do or Die. You said you did another one prior, but I think the one that you're talking about, the latter one, is Tattoos. It's got 1.4 million
yes,
views. Yeah. So did
I
you
think
did you
it's
direct
I'm
that one as well?
her. No, so thankfully, learning from my mistakes from
Yeah.
that do or die shoot, I hired a good friend of mine to direct that, and I just kind of just co-directed and DP that shoot for tattoos.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that one was a bit easier because I had a director kind
Mm-hmm.
of focusing on that part of the role, and I was able to really focus on being a DP for that project, which was so much fun, so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I did want to ask you about directing because
yeah,
your website URL is directed by
yeah,
Joseph. How how long were you directing before you were DPing, and what
yeah,
has that transition be? How has that transition been like? Are you still directing every now and then? Are you committed to
yeah.
exclusively DPing? What's kind of been that
Yeah,
timeline like for you?
uh, I've I think I've always been a director DP or a director cam op.
Mm-hmm.
I never really solely focused on just being a director, and I directed my own piece before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that name directed by Joseph came from just I wanted a catchy name for my Instagram handle,
Yeah.
and it was like, what would go along with my name well? And it was like directed by Joseph. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that flows really nice. I think people could search that up pretty easily. And so I put that name as my username, and it kind of stuck around. And then I started doing more projects where I was actually, director and DPing and stuff too. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, okay, so the name does kind of go along with it. But now, um, I'm mainly focusing on just being a DP now, and I think that's the right thing to do because for the amount of stress that I've been getting from just doing both of those jobs on projects from my past projects that I've done, um, I learned a lot for sure. It's fun to direct. Like I have a lot of fun directing, and I love being able to be like making a vision come to life
Hmm.
that like I kind of just come up with a treatment and then seeing it come to life, and also being able to like be a DP, and then like I just know exactly what I want and what I need, where and how and what.
Hmm.
And so like it's been fun to do all that, but I think from the projects that I've been doing with Natalie or other clients, I think I just love DPing a lot more than directing. So I think I just like made that um, decision for that tattoos music video of like I just need someone that I trust and know that can execute the vision, and I could just solely focus on being a DP for that project, and made the whole workflow so much easier for all of us and for the team, for Natalie's team too. So yeah, I think that's just kind of been like my transition from just doing it. I just feel like yeah, my transition was pretty smooth from just going from a director DP to focusing on just being a DP. And I'm glad that I did it because I think I'll have a lot more gray hairs than what I already have if I
Yeah,
didn't do that.
yeah, and I feel like I do get some. There's been certain productions where I'm like, I'm gonna get a couple grays after this.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems like, well, because you do the directing, or you did the director DP type position on some productions, I think it gives you perspective on like you kind of know what people are gonna need, and as like a DP,
Mm,
it's definitely
yeah.
helpful to sort of self-direct in a way,
Right.
especially for like
Right.
docu stuff. Like that's like
Yeah.
perfect because you know,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, and you know you're able to kind of focus on that and have
Yeah.
mentally that workflow
Right. You had that perspective of a director.
yeah, of like client first. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
I've kind of I never really felt like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell a story in this way, which in this way to me
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
directing.
Yeah.
And I've always been sort of a DP or in some camera
Yeah.
role, you know,
Yeah.
for most of my career. I've done some G&E stuff, but um,
Yeah.
in terms of like DPing stuff, my sort of perspective of it is like I'm in service of either the director, the production, or the client.
Yeah.
And so it's just like for me, the perspective is always like, what is going to be the thing that's the most attractive, and what is the
Right.
thing that's going to be the most creatively fulfilling for me. And that's kind of what I go
Right.
into like for every project. Like
Yeah.
obviously, you know,
Right.
like it's them first always, but
Yeah. Yeah.
always
Yeah. Yeah.
also like I want to consider that like am I injecting as much of myself into this as possible?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, that's like kind of the reason they're hiring you or anybody else, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool
To
that you kind
execute.
of
Yeah.
have that background of like, okay, I'm gonna know
Right. Right.
what's gonna sell, what people want, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. Do you see yourself?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you haven't directed some full piece, like exclusively directing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself maybe trying that in the future? I know I want to respect that, like you're obviously making the choice to exclusively DP, but do you
Yeah.
think in the future would you consider that sort of opportunity, or is that like no, no, I'm gonna leave that to somebody else?
If I'm being honest, I probably won't even touch it.
Okay.
Like try.
Mm-hmm.
But if I kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think there's been a couple of like, there's a couple like passion projects that I want to do where I'm directing and I'm not DPing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in those instances, I would love to try it out just to see if I even like it.
Yeah.
Like I've only directed and DP'd, so I don't know how it would be if I really focus on just directing something, directing a piece.
Mm.
So I think that would be like maybe if I wrote something or have one of my friends write something, I solely just direct it. I think that would be a fun experience for sure. I'm not, I wouldn't be opposed to trying it. I think I would love to try it one day. And maybe that time is now and seeing if I want to be a director or if I want to be a DP while I'm freelancing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah.
but no, yeah, I think I just really love having the DP role because I just love to make. I don't know, the directors or the writers' visions come to life. Like we're using our talents as a DP to make it happen on the screen, like in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that's just my favorite part, just being able to work with someone like a director um, or the people that just make it happen. I'm just like, okay, like our goal as a DP is to make what the director either wrote or a writer, whatever the writer wrote, come to life and make that the best that it can be
Yeah.
to tell that story.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I think that's why I enjoy being a DP, is just being able to just communicate and talk with the director, getting the nitty-gritty of the story or whatever it is that I'm working on or whatever we're working on as DPs. Um, and just seeing their faces of like, oh my gosh, like this shot's awesome because of the way that you lit that scene or the way
Yeah.
that we did production design or stuff like that. So it's just like I think that's the part that I just really enjoy doing is just making that vision that you're trying to make come to life, come to fruition, and just seeing, you know, everybody happy to even see it
Yeah,
come to life.
definitely. I feel like
So
um I've never really ventured into directing just because I feel like
yeah,
I am in I just feel like I serve a production best with DPing. I feel like
yeah,
if I've tried to direct, I would just
yeah,
kind of feel like a blind person trying to paint on an easel. Like
mm,
you're gonna get
yeah,
something.
yeah, right,
If I throw enough
yeah,
paint splotches at it, it'll look like
yeah,
something. But
right,
I
right,
think I can best articulate what it is that I want to present creatively
right,
through cinematography and through
yeah.
my own
No,
sort of
I'm with you.
experimentation, like just experimenting with different lighting and lensing. Like I think that's
Yeah,
really sort of solidified that idea for me. um
hmm,
I
no, I'm with you
I
there.
I think it's
Yeah,
interesting just because you've had previous directing experience being like sort of
yeah,
a multi hyphenate in that way. Like I think
yeah,
it's really interesting where you sort of split yourself. It seems like the split is
hmm,
very like
hmm,
80% DPing and like 20%
yeah,
directing, and that 20% is just sort of purely
yeah.
out of responsibility,
Right.
to
Yeah, yeah,
whomever
yeah.
the
And
production
budget.
is. Yeah, and budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. In that
No, for sure.
sort of vein of multi
Yeah.
hyphenate stuff, it seems like you do kind of a variety of different things. We'll get into
Yeah.
the rental house that you have in a minute,
Yeah.
but I wanted to touch on really quickly. Um, Sort of the mental health side of stuff, and we kind of talked
Yeah.
before about like
Hmm,
work's been
hmm.
interesting sort of the last
Yeah.
year or
Yeah.
so, and you talked about kind of how you felt about doing all the tour stuff and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I'm wondering,
Hmm.
what's that sort of mental health relationship been like for you? Do you
Yeah.
feel like you flow through it really well? Do you have like sort of a
Hmm.
set routine to sort of check in on yourself? What does your uh, mental health
Yeah.
sphere sort of look like for you as far
Yeah.
as
No,
being
for
a
sure.
creative?
Yeah. I think, yeah, especially after all this, this being such an interesting year for me so far,
Mm,
and from last year being so, I would say one of my successful years was last year. Out of the 6 years that I've been DPing, um, I think for me it's been interesting for sure. But I think journaling has been one of my biggest things that I've been trying to put as my priority each day. Even if it's just like a small note that I wanted to make that's in my head that's like bugging me. Like I want to write it down. I just want it out of my head onto physical paper and just kind of just I'm an overthinker. And I
yeah.
think we talked about that too when we
Yep.
first met. We're like, I'm an
Yep.
overthinker. Wait, so
Yep.
it's like everybody overthinks, but I'm
Hmm.
like, you never seen my overthinking before. But yeah, no, it's. I think like if you talked to me like 2 years ago, my overthinking was it was pretty bad. Like I would overthink every single situation, but over
Hmm.
time I've gotten better at like controlling it and journaling and stuff like that. But not being able to be a full-time freelance CP and there's a lot of overthinking that's happening. It's like, oh, what if I don't have jobs, or what do I do if I don't have any jobs, or just like all these thoughts go through my head. But I've like noticed and realized that from journaling, it's been helping a lot to just get it out of my like mind and my system of just like writing down on paper. I've like tried the iPad solution of like writing with the Apple Pencil or like typing it out. It's not the same
It's
with
not the
writing down
same.
on paper with a pencil. It's just like I don't know, the physical labor of just like putting the pressure onto the paper and writing it out
Yeah,
really gets it out of your head. And I
absolutely.
think I learned that over time. And I really thought that I was like, why am I journaling? I'm not a journaling person. I don't do this. Like it felt really weird for me to even be journaling for like I don't know the first 2 months of it. I'm like I bought this little small notebook on Amazon and I just carry it everywhere I go in my backpack or if in my pocket or something. And the first 2 months, like I didn't carry it around with me.
Hmm.
But then like I would overthink or something happens, like, wait, where is it? I don't know where my journal is.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of like helped me, I guess, keep it consistent for me to bring my notebook everywhere.
Hmm.
And of like if I ever feel like or if I feel like I'm gonna start overthinking, I'm like, okay, let me grab my notebook real quick and write it down
Yeah.
before it gets worse. And I think that's kind of like how I figured out some kind of system to help and cope with my overthinking to just not overthink. And yeah, I think so far I think I'm doing good mentally.
That's
Like
great.
I just got back from tour. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I'm still trying to get my life together right now, and
Yeah.
like don't know what's next for me. Don't know what's gonna happen in the next month. Um, so a lot of overthinking has happened. But yeah, I think journaling has helped a lot for sure with
Yeah.
my mental health and I honestly, I'm a Christian man. I love to go to church. I love to pray about things.
Hmm.
So I love to go to church and just um, either once a week go to church on Sundays or every other Sundays go to church
Yeah.
and just like have time specifically for God and also just being thankful and blessed for where I'm at in life.
Yeah.
Just being able to
Definitely.
do what I love to do. Um, at this young of age, just doing what I love. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Gratitude is like such a huge thing, and I'm with
Oh
you
yeah.
that like I'll show you right now. I carry a, if I can get it right here. I do carry like a small notebook with me.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess just because it's a little bit of an
I
older
think that's
notebook.
literally. Did you get that on Amazon too?
I got this at like Office Depot. The brand is
Nice.
Ecolo, ECCOLO. It's like a
Nice.
little
Okay.
like faux
Yeah.
moleskin notebook or
Yeah.
something. It's a bit of
I
a
only asked
mess.
because like it
Yeah.
looks similar to mine. So I was like, wait, did you get that on Amazon? Because it's
No,
literally the
that's
same
funny.
exact like
Yeah. Uh,
design.
it's a bit of a
Heck
mess.
yeah.
There's like a bunch of receipts and business cards from like
Yeah.
events that I've
Yeah.
gone to and like,
Yeah.
but as far as like overthinking, it definitely is a way to sort of manage myself and sort of manage like,
Yeah.
because I share a similar sentiment, especially right now. It's like
Yeah.
you just kind of wonder like, okay, is there going to be a job that comes up? Like
Yeah. Like what's
what's
next?
next? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've talked to some people who like you especially who have sort of fostered connections and like sort of
Yeah.
created that safety net for yourself as far as like
Yeah.
transitioning to
Hmm.
freelance work. But for me, I was just like, oh, I
Hmm.
got paid, I'm freelance now,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah. I
a
get you.
bit of an anxious mess after that.
Hmm.
But no, I think as far as like I try to put things into perspective and I try to be honest with myself. It's like, hey, listen, you've been hired before, you're gonna be
Yeah.
hired again.
Yeah.
That's like not even like without question, you're gonna be hired again.
Yeah. No, for
And
sure.
also give yourself grace because nobody's working. You're not working, nobody's
Yeah.
working. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's the nature of the industry right now is sort of in a weird spot. I read recently that
Yeah.
like productions in general from like the first quarter of the year have been down like 25%, which is
Yeah.
like 25% less jobs. Like that's kind
That's
of crazy.
huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try to give grace in the sense that like, hey, listen, nobody's really working right now. For now,
Yeah.
just sort of focus on the things that
Right.
you sort of are within your control and sort of things that you can sort of um,
Yeah.
manage yourself. Right. And I think I used to be a little bit more I don't want to say like overly attentive because that sounds like too much of
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
positive way of putting it. But I was definitely like overthinking to my own detriment. Like
Hmm.
first maybe 2 or 3 years of DPing like full time.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
sort of like, okay, am I qualified? It was like a deep level of like
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. I've spoken about this with a few other
Yeah.
people as well, where it's like
Yeah.
It just sort of like you don't know, and I think over time of
Right.
sort of doing it again, it's again and again and
Right.
again, it's sort of
Right.
like I've given myself the confidence to know like, hey, you have the skill set, you can sort of
Yeah.
you're
Right. You could do it.
you can do it. You are
Yeah.
qualified. Your resume was nice, and that's the reason you got this job, right?
Right.
So I try to keep that in mind, and I try to keep in mind like, you know what, I
Yeah.
have the skill set, I know what I'm doing, and as a result, I've sort of thought much less. Like I overthink much
Mhm.
less when I'm DPing.
Mhm.
I sort of know
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
No, same here.
like, I can do this, and I know, I'm sure you kind
Yeah.
of have the same sort of thought of like, hey, I have my couple bags of tricks
Mhm. Mhm.
as far as lighting goes,
Yeah.
or like camera movement,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Right.
So I'm going to stick to
Yeah.
those, and then maybe try a few things on this one. And then
Yeah.
that isn't to say that I'm any less self-critical. I'm sure maybe you feel the
Yeah.
same
No. No.
way.
For sure.
I look at everything
Yeah.
after a project comes out where I'm like, oh, I
Oh
could have
yeah.
maybe done this, I could have maybe done that.
Yeah.
What is
That's why
that?
I'm like, why are you looking at my past work right now? Because I'm like, oh, there's so many things I could have done better in a lot of those videos.
No, dude,
But
you have like a really nice resume, and like I think
no, I
you
appreciate
should
that.
feel great about it. I
Yeah, no, I
definitely
appreciate
I
it.
share a similar sentiment though of like, oh god, like I could have done this, I could have done
Yeah.
that, like
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah.
thing. But
No, yeah, I think over time I really felt like I'm just like we're just both so blessed to even just be able to do what we love, you know? Like who has the opportunity to just do what you want to do and what you love to do, you know? We have all these
absolutely.
opportunities that are given to us
Hmm.
and we're able to do them and we know that we're capable and you learn from them too. Like I just feel like I just try to remind that to myself all the time too. Like, yeah, I'm maybe not having any jobs here and there, but like even for the past projects that I've done, I'm like I'm just grateful to even have it in the first place and like to be able to do what I love to do too, you know? It's like, yeah, I think it's just if you just see the bigger picture, you're literally doing what you love to do and what you want to do in for your whole life. So yeah, it goes a long way.
Yeah, I definitely I think about that more and more, especially like gratitude is such
Yeah,
a huge
yeah,
thing that I practice, and as far as like um where my focus is as far as like my mental health,
right.
I sort of focus on the things that I sort of can control, which has always been like,
Yeah,
okay, I have some money with gear, so let me sort
yeah,
of apply that, and let me rent the existing
yeah.
gear that I have so that I have like a little
Right,
bit and I can take care of myself or whatever it is,
right.
so I think continuing to
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
remind myself in that way that like, hey, things are going to be good and that you are
Hmm.
qualified to
Hmm.
do this sort of thing is like been
Yeah,
a really huge part of like, hey bro, like check in on yourself, that sort of thing. And
yeah, yeah,
I always try to echo that sentiment even when I see people that I
yeah.
haven't seen in a while. I'm just like, hey, how are you actually doing? Like,
Right, right.
because like
Yeah.
it's easy to say like I'm
Hey,
good, like,
yeah.
yeah,
And that check-ins go a long way too.
yeah,
And I feel like mental health is not talked about too much, especially in men too.
oh
Like I'm not trying to
absolutely,
mansplain or anything, but
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
there's just so many times where you just think like people are it's just that stereotype of like, oh, they're fine. They're a guy, they can handle it. But no, like we go through a lot of stuff. People go through a lot. It's just crazy. Um, but no, yeah, I think checking in with your friends and family is so important too, of just like a small text or just giving them a call once in a while and just checking in and seeing how they're doing. Because you never know what they could be going through. And so, like, I love to do that too with my friends, but also for yourself, like while you're journaling, checking in yourself, making a checklist for yourself, or like making sure that you're good and,
Yeah, definitely.
so no, yeah, man, I
Yeah.
love that. I
And I
love
think,
how you're talking about this.
yeah, I really try to, because I feel like it's not a conversation that's said much about, and it's cool to
Yeah.
see that like, okay, cool, you're feeling the same way as well. Like I'm not
Right,
alone in
right.
this. I'm not
Yeah.
crazy for thinking that like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's like I
That I'm
have
thinking this
imposter
way.
syndrome or like
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
like I'm not
Right.
losing my mind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really cool, and I really try to echo that sentiment,
Heck yeah.
just
No, I
among
love that, man.
peers, and just it's
Yeah.
important. We got to check in on everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I love it.
Speaking of checking in on people, you do share a rental house business with, I'm assuming,
Yes.
another DP, or I don't know exactly what their
I
role
think
is.
he's a gaffer. Yeah, gaffer DP. Yeah.
He's a multi hyphenate. Okay, so you
Yeah.
share this rental house called Underdog rentals.
Yes, sir.
How did that come to be, and what's sort of been
Yeah.
that working dialogue been between the two of you?
Yeah, no. Um, I think I'm trying to remember how we even came up with the idea of a rental house because I never had the intentions of opening or starting a rental house in
Mm-hmm.
my career or anything like that at all. Um, but I think we were just me and my friend that I started it up, his name is Tree. Um, I think we were just sitting down one time at a coffee shop and we were literally just thinking about like rental houses and like all that kind of stuff. And our both of our stuff was already on like share grid and we were getting rentals from our own like personal equipment and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we talked about it and after with a lot of conversations, we were like, wait, there's not that many Orange County rental houses. And we're both based in Orange County, northern part of Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of college students and some filmmakers that are based in Orange County that have to drive all the way up to LA and then come back down. Then their shoot is in LA, and then they would have to return it the next day, and then so they would have to drive up again. So we were like, wait, what if we started a rental house where they don't need to do that?
Yeah.
They just need to go to our rental house where it's a one-stop shop for all your equipment needs for your projects and stuff like that, where it's Orange County based for Orange County filmmakers, but also LA because we're on literally on the northern part of Orange County and LA County.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was our intention of starting a rental house was to be able to be open to all the Orange County filmmakers and college students to be the one-stop shop. We're still working on our rental house right now. We're not where we want to be, but for our goals that we wanted to hit last year as a rental house, we were like 75% like there of like with all of our goals that we want to do with our rental house,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. I think it's been I think it's been interesting because I never thought I would be a business owner either, and the whole logistical side of things is really complicated and not easy, and a lot of money. But and just being wanting to invest in all the equipment and not knowing if it's going to be rented out and you're not going to be able to pay it back and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of trial and error. But I feel like we wouldn't have known it wouldn't have worked or it would work if we didn't try it and risked it and did it. So I think both of us had the same mindset. We were like, you know what, let's just put in all of our own personal equipment and gear that we've bought with our own money, put it onto the rental house and see what happens there. And rentals started picking up. It started to go well. Our right now our top like renters, well, the things that are getting rented out the most are our Hollyland headsets,
Mm-hmm.
and so those are the only things that have been like renting out like probably 2 to 3 times a week, which is
Wow.
crazy. So, and it's a lot of college students that are renting from us because I think we have like three different sets of them.
Mm-hmm.
We got the C1 Pros, we got the C1s. We have two 8 set of headsets, and then one 4. So we have a lot of them. We have 3 total kits of them, and so they're always out on rentals, which is just crazy to me. Uh, we don't want to be a Holyland like owning rental house.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So yeah, like our goal right now for this year is trying to build out a 1-ton grid package, um, maybe a 2-ton in the future, but we're trying to make that shift into becoming a lighting rental house, mainly focus more on lighting than anything. Um, but yeah, that was just kind of like our intentions with it, just trying to reach all those college filmmakers that are in Orange County and also just filmmakers in general in the Orange County area, but also LA, to just make it easier because I feel like I've had that struggle of driving on to LA, coming back down, and same goes with my business partner, like having to go all the way up to LA and coming back down. So,
Yeah.
like,
That's definitely like a smart business model in terms of like targeting the, like college students and that sort of thing. It
yeah, yeah,
definitely, number one gets you in relations to people who are kind of at the start of their career, and also you're kind
right,
of able to sort of build with them over time and sort of assess what their
yeah,
needs are. Because I find that like
yeah,
with certain rental houses that I've worked with, it's sort of like I wish I sort of started that. Like, I didn't go to film school,
Mm,
but like, I wish
yeah,
I sort of started that
same.
relationship,
Yeah,
like, from when I started working rather than like, I feel like there was like this pressure to sort of like have
yeah,
certain pieces of equipment. And so
right, right.
I've always sort of been an owner operator, but
Yeah,
the few times that I've sort of rented for like shows or like maybe a
right.
larger camera package, I feel like
Yeah,
it was difficult to sort of assess what it was that I needed because
right.
they are sort of suggesting certain things that like I didn't
Hmm,
know about
hmm.
at the time, and so I'm sort of
Right.
like, oh. But from the
Yeah.
jump, because you are sort of meeting people coming, like you said, coming out of school, you're sort of
Hmm,
able to
hmm.
assess like, okay, what it is that like people are valuing, which is clearly like the
Yeah.
Hollyland comms,
Yeah.
and also what it is
Yeah.
that you can sort of supplement to sort of improve that workflow. That
Hmm,
I think
hmm.
that's really
Yeah.
cool that you're able to do that for sure.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing that we've learned from this rental house is just meeting all these filmmakers that are like really just trying to make something that they want to make, and
Mm-hmm.
just meeting all these college students, and even if they're not a college student, just being able to, it's another source of networking with other filmmakers too. Like there's been a couple of times where I met people through my rental house, and they come up to one of my sets and help out either
Yeah.
AC or become a PA or a gap a project that I did. I met them through my rental house. So it's another great way to just meet people and see how they got into the whole industry and why they're going to film school, all that kind of stuff. So it's been cool to just meet people through it also. And yeah, no, it's just been, I feel like the film industry is so small, and I think the rental house makes it even smaller because there's so many times where I bump into someone else that I met through a rental at someone else's set. I'm like, wait, how I didn't know that you were working with this person or that person. So it's been cool to see just that happen.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I've also like definitely met people through having rented my equipment because I have my equipment on
yeah,
like ShareGrid as well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I've had people that have like consistently rented through me to where they've like either it's been a director that I've met where we just start working together like as creatives,
yeah,
where it's like I'm sort of DPing projects and that sort of thing. And also, there's been certain scenarios where like we've just sort of taken transactions like off of ShareGrid and I've just started renting
yeah,
to them like
right,
privately, just because like
yeah,
we have that relationship and it's like okay, cool, I trust you. Like, this it's chill, that sort of thing, and it's been something that I think has um something that, like what you're saying, like logistically it is like a bit of an undertaking because it's like a lot to
hmm,
try and understand, and
hmm,
I'm sure you feel that way about like sort of managing not only your own equipment as well as like your business partner's equipment and
yeah,
how that split sort of turns out. But yeah, for me it's been pretty interesting to see like what is
yeah. What
popular
does
and
well?
what does
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
what doesn't do well necessarily, and also like
It's challenging because it changes so much. Like
yeah.
you think that it's just like an iPhone. It's like it comes like a new one comes out every year,
Hmm.
and people are wanting the next best thing. So it's like if a new product comes out from Aperture or from I don't know, camera like maybe Sony, then people are wanting that because they want to be like, oh, is this something that I want to buy in the future? So they're like trying to get their hands on it too. So it's so hard to see what people want because it's always changing. Like there's something new that comes out every single year, and there's so many rental houses that just can't get to it right away either. And like, I mean, we're not a big rental house, but then the bigger ones usually can. But we're not a big rental house. We're still a startup rental house too.
Yeah.
And so we can't get the next big thing either. We can get like the best, like newest aperture lights that are coming out right away.
Yeah.
So I think that's us trying to navigate through what is working for us and what isn't working for us, and just kind of like seeing like where do we want to budget more towards. And I think this year we're also trying to build out that one ton, but at the same time we're trying to focus more on the marketing side of things of like how can we expand our networks, and also um, people that can also rent from us, like how can I reach more people, not just college students, but also filmmakers and DPs and producers. Like what are some best ways to do that? Should we budget more marketing of like doing more, like should we boost a post on Instagram and
Hmm.
Facebook, and get our word out there, go to like networking events and handing out cards and stuff like that. Like, what is it that we need to do this year to get our name out there more? And especially it being like we're still Orange County based, that it's
Yeah.
hard to just be like going to networking events in LA and be like, hey, we're at Ranch House, but we're all the way in Orange County.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, just trying to figure that out and seeing like, doing a lot of trial and errors and seeing what works for our company and what works for the people that we want to serve and what our demographic is. So it's a lot of trial and error. And I think that's what both me and my business partner really love doing is just trying it out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, great.
Yeah.
What can we do to grow from it? What do we learn from it? What can we do? What can we take from that experience and do better? Or what can we add to make it do better? So I think that was one of the reasons why we also wanted to do this in rental house is that we both just love the logistical side of things,
Mhm.
but also just being able to meet people through it
Yeah,
and
definitely.
try new things.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one for me, just getting to meet a lot of people through it, and I just really feel like, for me personally, it's not all about the equipment, but also the people. I think the people is the most important for me. Just the people that I get to meet through it. It's just really cool to see.
Yeah,
So
it's huge, and like we kind of touched on it before. Like it's been interesting to
yeah,
see what people gravitate to, and sort of like what is the thing that is attracting you to even you, right? Like that's
yeah,
definitely been super interesting. And also like for me, I feel less pressure to think about like in terms of like expansion, right? Sort of
yeah,
my main
yeah.
because it is just like my gear that I'm putting up front to like
Right.
rent it to people and that sort of
Yeah,
thing. My main thing is sort of just like, okay, what is it that like I would want to use?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I try to have things that are like constantly active. Like I don't want to buy like a like 1200D that I maybe use for
Right,
one production and then
right.
like never again. Like what is something that
Yeah,
like what would my version of like a 1 ton package look like, for example?
right.
Like I think that's something that I've sort of considered it before, but it is still like something I'm still
Yeah,
figuring out, and I
right.
really want to put some money into things that like are sort
Yeah.
of evergreen that I'm always going to use on everything. Because
Mhm,
at least as
mhm.
far as like the gear investments that I've made right now, they've been
Yeah,
things that have always been just active in one
right,
capacity or another. Like I have
right.
a few things out on a rental right now, and I have a few things that
Yeah,
like are something that I'm using right now. For example, like my audio
yeah,
equipment is like available for rent,
right.
that sort of thing. I
Yeah, the
think,
necessities. Yeah,
yeah, I've sort of thought about gear in that way and sort of
right.
moving forward into certain gear acquisitions, I want to consider like
Yeah.
what my future needs are going to be and that sort of thing.
Mhm,
Talking
mhm.
about sort of the future, you talked a little bit about sort of the future of where the rental house is heading, which obviously you want to
Yeah,
make the investment to like a 1 or 2 ton package. What is
yeah.
the future of you yourself, Joseph the DP? What does that look like? Whether you have a
What a
direct
great
answer or not,
question.
what does that
Yeah.
look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out. Um, right before I went on tour, I quit my daytime job at church doing media production there to pursue full-time freelance DPing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I want to keep continuing that and still try to be a DP and do a lot more projects in that kind of realm. So hopefully in the next couple of months or years that I become, I would love to just be, DPing a lot more commercials, and that would be the main goal is to become more of a commercial DP than anything else. Um, but I do have a passion for music videos just because I love music and all that kind of fun stuff. And that's kind of like how I got into this whole world of filmmaking and was just making music videos for independent artists and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, hopefully the next couple of months or years that I just keep DPing, keep creating whatever I can, and just meeting a lot more people through it too. Um, I just would love to just meet a lot more people and build great relationships with people at the same time.
All right, that concludes today's episode of the ALG Show. Okay, the button's working, thank goodness. Um, I've only really known Joseph for maybe about a year. And the conversations we've had together have been really interesting. It's always cool to see, to kind of have that person who understands the field you're in, right? Because a lot of the times, like when you're a DP, like you don't really get to look over somebody's shoulder. You don't get to like compare notes in that sort of way and sort of see like, oh, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing this right? Or at least have like another person to like, hey, am I tripping for trying this, or am I tripping for doing this? That sort of thing. It's really cool, and I've appreciated the existing dialogue we've had over gear, over just career goals and things like that. So, it's a really nice conversation every time I get to chopping it up with Joseph. I'm gonna leave his info in the show notes below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.